Okay, there we go. All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is the Creativity 202 check-in for June 13th, 2023. This is like session 16 for this cycle. So we're at starting the second half. We're going to start converging back towards home. So, my check-in real quick. Really good day today. I had 21,000 steps at the soccer camp this morning, and drove into Kansas City for a outstanding doctoral dissertation review. Young gal getting her doctorate in education under age of 30, and man, she has got an unlimited upside. It was really good. It was an examination of how teachers feel about teaching contentious issues and all the factors that could go into it, and then an assessment of which ones actually mattered for the two school districts that she looked at. And her principal, her supervisor, came in for the defense, and it was really a good session for her. And he was really impressed, even more so with her than he was before. He knew how good she was, but she really knocked it out of the park with some really good research. Had a lot of fun with it. So pretty good day for me, I have to say. Luke, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good here. It's winter, so it's cold. It's much more quiet. I've come home to work and trade today. The wife's at the office, so I'll be able to go without any interruptions time. I hope.
And Damien, what's up?
I'm back on the saddle. Today was a good day after a few disastrous days last week due to some learning mistakes. So all is good. My wife and I had an awesome weekend. I took her to the best French restaurant in Pittsburgh on Saturday for 23rd year anniversary, and it was excellent. So we had a good time. That's good. So I hope.
That's great. And Dan, what's going on?
Doing well. I had a tough day yesterday, I guess. Lost 2R, which I wasn't too happy about, and I had another financial issue unrelated to trading, and kind of felt demoralized and woke up the same way this morning. But then I started reading the Big Five in Life book by John Strecker, and that really turned it around for me. I really like that book.
Yeah, it keeps you focused on what matters. And if things don't matter, they don't matter at all. That's kind of how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Art, welcome back. Good to see you. I say welcome back. I still stay connected with you by email, so I'm not missing you. But it's always good to see your face.
Thank you. Yeah, all good here. Doing better. Did something to my back Saturday, but whatever it was, I've recovered from it, and I'm feeling almost normal again. And I just say, I guess last week and this week were my 2 weeks in a long time, longest time I can remember, of having technology problems. So last week I lost internet, which I almost, I can't say never, but it happens very, very rarely. And just actually one thing I wanted to ask later, but how everyone deals with that. And then the second one, for whatever reason, today at work, the cloud service that we can have all our data on our models that we work on, that went down this afternoon. So anyway, I got a bit of a break for work for a while. So, but on that, all good here.
Well, good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move us into the room, and we'll be getting into our check-in session. Whatever lesson we're working on, that's the one that we're on. And it's really the shared story and the aha moments that matter. And it's not important to stay synchronized, only that you're reporting on the work that you're doing. That's kind of what's key. So here we go into the room. video froze for some reason. Most odd. Alrighty. Luke.
I'm on lesson 16. Don't be trapped by what you know. Keep it fresh. So I think it was last week or the previous week, I was talking about a different system on the DAX. It was more focusing on range breakouts after the first 15 to 20 minutes and just looking at taking profit at a certain level, just an arbitrary level of 40 points based on the breakout. And just that's the only trade of the day. Sometimes it will be the range of a 5-minute candle will be less than 40 points. So sometimes if I'm going long and it comes back into the range and then it goes on the other side of the range, I might only lose 18 to 19 points. And then I'll be going short to hopefully make up the 40 points on the downside on that move. I never thought, the first question being on this lesson is, when was the last time you tried something surprising? This is surprising because I never thought it would work. And the stats on this make it a tradable system. I'm not comfortable in trading it with live money yet. I'm still doing it I'm still paper trading it, but I'm doing that on a paper trade basis, but still trading the RLCO patterns on a 2 or 3 minute basis. And it's interesting the amount of load that you can take off mentally by just trading this very simple system. And when I feel more comfortable with putting skin in the game on this, seeing what the results are, but it's the entry and the exit is so absolute. There's no judgment that needs to be made on it, and that removes a lot of the angst of working out where the critical state is, working where you need to exit, the stop and reverse, the re-entry. All of that is just thrown out the window because this is very defined system rules, which I found quite surprising. Next question was, what did you have to let go of in order to receive a surprising gift? I guess in terms of this system, and then I'll go to the thing I've been working on in the last 2-3 weeks, is what I need to let go of is the need to be right and just stick to the actual system rules for the day. And because it's on a 5-minute chart on the DAX, sometimes it will trade, especially after the first half an hour, 45 minutes. After that, the volatility slows down, volume slows down, and you're just sitting around waiting for it to move to the 40-point take profit level. So it's really just sitting on your hands, actually not doing anything and leaving the trade alone. And what I've found in the last two weeks trading on a 3-minute chart on the DAX, where my PSAR is set on a more relaxed time frame of the maximum being 0.08 as opposed to 0.12 with Ken settings, is that what that means is I'm not in and out of trades as often as what I would be on a 0.12, and that has the advantages and disadvantages. Advantage is that I will only be able to wait for the PSAR to flip to actually work out what I'm doing on the next bar. The disadvantage of that being that there might be a really big runaway move, and I'm not capturing a lot of that that profit if the PSAR has flipped. Now, that what my feeling, my thought is, after the first hour, it doesn't actually have a lot of those runaway moves where it actually if I contrast it to the Australian dollar, doesn't have runaway moves out, then it comes back. It might run away, come back a bit, consolidate, and then work out which direction it's moving. But looking at that on a PSAR level of 0.08, that's okay because you've got a bit of that move and you're not constantly trying to work out where the next entry is. So what I had to let go of is when I'm looking at the DAX at my night time, which is from 5 o'clock, is I can still sit around at night time and engage with the family and only make a decision every 3 minutes and then working out what I'm going to do at that point. And another thing I've been working on, and it's been surprising, is looking at the trade on the 3 minute level, but also looking at additional entries on the lower time frame. It might be on a 30-second or a 1 minute time frame. Now, in terms of that, it's looking at where the RL10 wiggle is and working out where a collapsing dragon or emerging dragon might be on those lower time frames, just to mark it out and then work out. Might not get it on the first one because it might not be at a 1R position. So looking at where those second entries might be. And if the trade's just working, then the trade's just working and just let it go. And not really putting on second positions when it gets to 2R, looking where it's failing, and then it goes back in the direction of where I'm trading. And that might be on a PSAR flip on a lower time frame, but then it goes back in my direction, and that's when I can add on additional scoops at that point. Next question was, do you wait to see the end result before I'm open to the possibility? Well, back to that system I was talking about in the DAX, absolutely. I'm waiting for the end result because I don't trust it. I've got no faith in it. But the math doesn't lie, and that's where I have to really look at trading it, paper trading it as it happens, because then I can see the movement of the 5 minute candles and just have the comfort, I guess, of in terms of that trading, just sitting on my hands and waiting for the take profit or the exit to happen. And that is comforting because there's nothing else I can do. There's no stopping because it's hit a certain level and it hasn't reached 40 points. It's just that's the trade. In terms of the 3 minute trading on the 3 minute on the DAX, and I've also been doing the Euro USD at night time as well. The additional possibilities for me are the second positions and where that's going to be. So that's probably a work in progress for me at the moment in terms of that question. How do I keep it fresh? That's the next question. I would probably say looking at other exit and entry criteria, looking at where the P1 happens outside the river for a potential reversal, looking for a 1, 2, 3 entry, front running the SSC, and that is a potential for keeping it fresh, but that conflicts with my trading rules at the moment, especially in the DAX, because if I start to front run entries, then that's where the rules are swapping and changing during the session, and I'm not following the PSAR flips and the RLXDs. So I can't, for me anyway, I can't go back to the same sort of system rules that I had this time last year, because if I am to do that, I have to be a constant scout looking for different entry and exit criteria, where sometimes, especially on the PSAR when it's 0.08, it will just trend and then it will come back to a certain consolidation level. Then you can make a different decision about where that's up to. Where before it would be front running SSC, cutting that, then getting back in, then looking for an SFC. So it's constantly scouting, and that takes a lot more mental load to actually get those trades on at not a perfect entry, but you can see where it should be, and that's where I'm sort of riding the trend as much as I can. And yes, it will leave a lot on the table, but it also enables me to look at it at a lower time frame to work out where a second position would be, as opposed to putting on more trades. Possibly only take 40-50% of what the R capture would be if I was to trade it as often as I was this time last year. So it's a contrast of systems at the moment, and I'm finding it's working. And sometimes I might only take 2 or 3 trades on the DAX, where before, if I was trading it on the rules that I had last year, there might be 5 or 6, and not one's better than the other. It's just what does the math dictate at the end to make some assessments on what I want to improve on and how the system actually performs in terms of the math. So that's my work in progress at the moment. In terms of the aha moments, it's interesting because although I've got a PSAR at 0.08, if the trade doesn't work straight away and I feel like I just want to get out, I'll get out. It's not I'm waiting for the PSAR to flip or waiting for the trade to hit the execution risk. If the train has not left the station and there's no minimum favourable excursion, then I can just cut it and just get out at 0.5 and wait for the re-entry at where I would have got back in again at the same point. So in terms of that, there's a bit of discretion in terms of the cutting the losses, but when it's in profit, actually behaving, getting out of the station and following along the upper skin of the dragon for a long entry, then that's where I can make some decisions about, if I think this trade's working, just let it go. But if after 2 or 3 bars it's not actually done anything and I can cut it, then get out. So it's a lot of preserving the capital, and that's probably where I've thought before, where I've sort of held on for too long when it's actually done nothing. That's where I've been able to reduce the average loss, which is a major determinant for me of working out how the math actually works on the system. So yeah, that's me for today. I hope.
Damien.
Like some of you know, the last week was a disaster in terms of my trading to faults of my own. So what I decided to do coming forward is I have to work on my trader's mindset. That's number one. And number two, I have to put together a system, and I have to implement the system. Over the weekend, I signed up for a course that's offered by one of Ken Long's students. And I was listening today to the introduction, and one of the things that he suggests is to do paper trading for a minimum of 6 months. So starting tomorrow morning, we're not going to be trading with real money anymore. We're going to be doing it with paper trading. And that goes back a little bit to what Luke was saying, until my system is in place and I know that it's going to be profitable. In the same time, one of the things that I've noticed is the trader's mindset is something that I have to put under control. And one of the several things that I've noticed is I have to put under control the emotional control. And that's, at this point in my trading career, one of the biggest challenges that I have, but I'm willing to take it. And I'm going to be going back into what I did over the last few years to find out what hurdles that I have so that I can overcome them. The second thing that I have to work on is my mental preparation before I start trading in the morning. These days, I have no preparation. I go basically, and I will be honest, in the market blind, not knowing exactly what I'm supposed to do. So we're going to be working on that also. The other thing that I have that I'm realizing is that my self-awareness, something that I have to work on to find out what are my strengths, my weaknesses, not just in trading, but also outside of trading. So I'm going to be exploring that over the next few weeks and working on that and implementing a plan so I am more aware of my surroundings. One of the other big hurdle that I have is, I shouldn't say it's a hurdle, it's that I have to work on is positive reinforcement. I'm a negative person by nature. I've always have been. So from this point on, I'm going to have to put a lot of positive reinforcement so that I can move forward and I don't get out of trades too early or hold on to trades too long. So that's going to be a work in progress also. The other things that I'm going to be working on is my mindfulness. It's something that I need to do so I can reduce my stress. I'm under a lot of stress. I have family that lives in Europe, and every day I'm afraid I'm going to get a call that I'm going to be heading back home to funerals because I have an uncle who's 96 years old and he's not doing too well. So a lot of stress on that point. And so basically, as you can see, I'm not really prepared. The other thing that I mentioned last week that I was going to work on is my sleep. So the material that I ordered, the CPAP machine, will be arriving at the end of this month. I've started to exercise. All my neighbors are telling me, Damien, you're walking too much, but that's the way it is. I think today I did 35,000 steps. Ken, I have to check my watch, but that's what I think I did in little bits, but that's good. So we're going to go back to the grinder and we're going to do it one step at a time. And next week I will be sharing with you guys a lot of slides on what I came up with, and we'll take it from there. Aho.
$35,000 steps is a lot of steps. Just saying.
I know. I know.
Oh, my dog took that many, I think.
I wasn't far off. I'm at 29,490 for the day. So that's pretty impressive.
Dan.
Okay, I'm on lesson 15, which I really enjoyed the intro with Frederick the Great. We'll get back to that, but the part I worked on this time was mainly the trader's exercise. And the first question, how do you know when you are all in? I had to think about that a bit because when have I really been all in on a trading system? I had to ask myself, and I would say that I had been all in 2020 and 2021 with the trading system that I had before. Only now, because I'd been studying with Van and I really had discipline. I would take my stops. I would have pretty good trader quality, much fewer mistakes than I used to. But then in 2021, when the bull market narrowed and then kind of ended the next year, I stopped being able to trade that system. And I kind of went back to the way it had been before, where I'd kind of try one system and get flushed with enthusiasm at first, and then I'd system hop onto the next one. I think I'm starting to get all in on the 30-minute swing trading with RLCO. I don't know if I'm 100% there yet. And I'll say that because how would I know if I was all in? I would not always. I would always follow my trading process. Every morning, I would specify and fulfill my focus and intention, even if that was to be out of the market that day. You know, I'd be very formal about it, and I would continuously improve every day. Every night, I would write down my daily debriefing, what went well, what I am going to do differently, and what I'm grateful for, among many other things in journals and things if I did trades that have to be recorded. And I would say I'm pretty good at that. What I'm not that good at is doing this consistently, win or lose. I'm consistent until I lose, and then I kind of fall apart. Well, I mentioned that yesterday I had a 2-hour loss, and it was only about as quarter as devastating as the 2-hour loss that I had like a month or so ago, in terms of causing me to doubt myself. I mean, in real money, it was $20, so it was not devastating. And then the one a few months ago may not have been real money. It may have just been stats. And so I, of course, didn't want to mess up my stats and be further away from success. But I think if you're all in, you have to be able to roll with these punches. Now, maybe it's just an excuse, but today I told myself, well, it's Fed week. Last Fed week, it didn't go too well for me. I'm not going to trade Fed week, at least till after the meeting. And so I didn't trade today. And that may be okay. Maybe I'm still all in. I think I'm still all in, or more all in than I've been, since 2021. And I really like this system. So how does it change me to be all in to the extent I am? It helps me focus on the one thing I can control, the process. I mean, when I have that 2-hour loss, and every time I have a loss, that's the dark side of the cloud. But the silver lining is always knowing, what the mistake was. Now, it's true it could be that the market just went against me, and that's okay. But most of the time, I seem to be able to find, if not a mistake, something wrong with the pattern because I'm still learning. And I always feel when I have these losses, and even in a winning week, I have losses. I always feel like I learned so much, and it's all going into that daily debriefing. So what I'm like when I'm all in like this, I'm more confident, I'm disciplined, I'm happy about it. Even if some of the trades were losses and I made some mistakes and my trader quality number is still only 75%, I know that I'm learning and I'm only going to get better from here. What am I all in on? Well, it's my trading process and it's my commitment to staying with the system. I've been trading this system since February, pretty much continuously. I don't do it every day, but I would say I definitely do it every week for a few days. And that's how it's supposed to be. How does anyone else know that? You all should be able to see that I'm fairly calm and confident. And what do they do when they find out what I'm all in on? They may want to know more about, what my process is. Is there anything, in it that they could adapt for themselves? And I do enjoy, the opportunities that I have to give presentations and things like that, describing my work. This time also, I started working on the long exercises to achieve the zero state. And the first bullet there is make a rich description of all your senses to create that space for optimum trading. So last time, and I have all my notes from the last Creativity 202 class. Last time I wrote about, well, this exercise started out with a discussion of Frederick the Great's speech and how he inspired his troops that were wavering in the trenches with the cry that you fools, what do you want to do? Live forever? I had another one like that. It was from the Lord of the Rings movie when the King Theoden gave his speech to the Rohirrim before they charged down onto the fields of Pelennor. That always inspired me a lot, even to think of that. And I remember when I went on the 100-mile bike ride in 2007, that's America's most beautiful bike ride around Lake Tahoe, that at 7 in.the morning, hundreds of us bikers were wheeling our trusty steeds out into the street, and I felt like I was hearing that speech from the movie, and just really pumped my blood up. I don't know if that's exactly what I need when I'm trading, though. So instead, I thought maybe the Magic Footsteps exercise from the Magic book, where you do the 28 days of gratitude exercises. And the Magic Footsteps is simply, you take a step, and after every step you say thank, and the next step you say you. And I can do that when I'm walking the dog, or I guess I could do that around and around the fireplace between the two living rooms. And that way I could maybe get into, a calmer, meditated state, maybe just conscious breathing. But with the Magic Footstep exercises, I can layer a lot of rich sensory description around that, like a moonlit garden waterfall or something, and some music. I haven't yet made a sketch. That's why I was looking closely at the badger and whatever Damien has there, the totem animals, and I think I'm going to make one of them. Analogy that resonates. I'm not quite sure what the analogy would be. Maybe just remembering Magic Footsteps or Theoden's speech, depending on whether I need calm or whether I need motivation and excitement. I can summon them, maybe. and a timer. I got a timer on my phone, third-party app, Alarm Ed, that goes off every 20 minutes, and it's going to use the sound that I selected. So that's all very good. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention about my work in progress, the third thing that was bothering me yesterday, that I mentioned in Coffee Talk, that the 2R loss, another financial problem, had left me demoralized yesterday. The third thing that was bothering me yesterday was just a bit of a sense of overload. With an active imagination, I have come up with so many things that I want to do that I could never do them all in one lifetime. And I find it hard to focus. And that leads you to think, what am I working for? I just can't seem to, to get what I want. And that's why that book, The Top 5 for Life, seemed so powerful. Just when I read that book, even I'm only 60 or 70% of the way through the book, but even just in the first couple of chapters, well, you can hear my timer going off there, perhaps. Even in just the first couple of chapters, when he was talking about the concept, I could right away, I could think of my first draft of the top 5 were. And all of a sudden I felt charged and I felt focused. They weren't like the ones that were described last week, husband, father, student, whatever, although one of them for me is family, just being they were more about travel bucket lists, items that I have. But they were more than that. If I say I want to go on the Camino de Santiago, or if I say I want to go on a safari, or if I say I want to go on a road trip across America, I want to do that. I want to travel, but what do I really want out of that? Maybe I want to be a seeker or a pilgrim, or maybe I really want to get deep into animal life, or maybe I want that sense of freedom and adventure that you can get with a road trip. These are things that I'll still want after I complete that particular adventure, and that's what's so exciting about this 5 for Life, is it gives you a focus, it gives you something you can do, but it's a way to grow and then to be. And I had a vocational one, possibly, about being a writer. I did not have one for being a trader, but having financial abundance is kind of the foundation on which a lot of this stuff can sit. So it's still in the map. And these are just some thoughts about my work in progress, and continuing our conversation about 5 for Life. I'll leave it there. Aho.
Yes.
All
right. So I'm on lesson 12. I started lesson 12 today, and so far I've enjoyed it. I think one of the things that struck me as I was reading through it was actually towards the end of some of the comments, and it talked about the 2 failures the two mistakes along the way to mastery. One is not starting, and the second one is not going all the way. And a little bit further that when I talked about a self-management process and the types of things that I do to help me follow through on my intentions, which when I actually started thinking about that, I came to the realization of how little I follow through on many of my intentions. Some of them I do follow through, just kind of in a strange way. And I think that lesson just seemed to be very timely because it seems to dovetail into my work in progress, which was kind of came from another aha moment prior to this past Saturday's accountability check-in, and which I was faced with the realization that I went through a whole week and didn't make much of any progress on the goals that I wanted to accomplish for the week. And when I looked at that and thought about why that was, it was I really, one of the things I came up with that I wasn't allocating time throughout the week towards those particular activities. So anyway, one of the things I'm working on now is developing kind of like a time block, which will allow me to allocate short periods of time to work on the different things that I want to work on in terms of time for creativity and some of the things that I want to do with trading. And then also still keeping the time that I spend on practicing my singing and also on my spiritual work. Because I seem to be able to find time to do my the introspective self-work or spiritual based work that's important to me, that's helping me kind of grow and transform. I'm usually able to carve out time in the morning to do that and to keep up with my meditating, which is kind of nice. I'm actually, one of the things that came out of some of those quiet moments this past week and a few oracle cards that I pulled, there was one that was fascinating on the whole idea of the title of the card was Why. And I found that very entertaining because for me, it's easy for me to get into the continuous do loop of why, why I do this, why I do that. In other words, trying to find a reason behind what I do. But the subtle point the card was trying to make is that when you look at the why in terms of like what's motivating you to do the things that you're doing, there's like real value in that. And when you find your motivation, when your motivation gets in line with or aligned with your purpose, then it's a very powerful thing. So I've been using that, really stuck with me, and I've been using my quiet time. So before I meditate, even though it's just for like maybe 5 or 8 minutes at a chunk, I'll ask myself the question, like what's motivating me to do this work or to take creativity or to want to trade, and then sit and see what kind of answer comes up. And it's taken a little time. I'm sure the answer is going to come. And the other thing I wanted to say was that I'm now finding it a little easier to sit quietly a couple times during the day. So, which is really strange for me, just be able to like go leave my work desk, maybe go to my dining room, which is kind of my spiritual place, and sit there and just for 5 minutes and sit quietly and listen to my heartbeat or just listen to myself breathe. I don't know, and I'm finding that kind of peaceful, so I'm enjoying it. I think that's pretty much all I had to really share. Yeah, that, and I'm gonna do a little bit more research on self-management process and kind of what that is and what are some good things to do with that, and see if I can incorporate that into my daily routine and see what happens, and look forward to sharing the results of my exercises with you guys next week from my lesson 12. Aho.
All right, so I want to talk about my experience with back testing and exploring inner space and acquiring new habits. And Damien, especially, I would like you to listen carefully here. This is my experience. So there I am in a dark place, and I don't like my performance, and I think I know the reasons why. And so I got a list of beliefs, and I want to go deep into therapy and figure out where does all this stuff come from. And what I want to do is get up here. That's where I want to be. And the way I think I'm going to do that is, well, let me first go back into the past and study every single thing that explains how I got here. And so maybe you do take those steps and you go all the way down and you check things out and you come back up. And then after you've completed that journey, you have a perfect understanding of why that square is black. But what I want is a white square. You know, or I want it. What I want is a green square up here. That's what I want. I want a green square. And I'm gonna start with a white square because I don't know anything about how to be that green square. So what I got to do is start initiating some actions to start acquiring the behaviors, the mindsets, the knowledge, skills, and attributes, and start filling that thing up so that it becomes a green square by the time where I want to get to where I am. I don't have any evidence that this journey into this thing is killing me. I don't have any evidence from my past that says this deep dive into where I was and how I've been is going to help me acquire the skills that I don't have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be reviewing all the reasons why I don't have the skills that I want. That's what I'm concerned about. I love Griff and Phil to death. But I don't recommend that you stop trading one share at a time and paper trade for 6 months. I don't recommend that. In my life, I've never been successful doing that. Because while I'm paper trading, all I can think of is there's going to come a day when I stop paper trading, and now I got a live trade again, and now I got 6 months of not practicing, and I am adding pressure. I can never get that out of my head. I can never do that. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm just going to surrender that and say, you know what, that was then, this is now. These are the things that I got to do, and damn it, I'm going to do those things. I demand that I'm going to do those things. I'm in charge of what I do. I'm not saying that that's going back and investigating isn't worthwhile, but my job is to get to the top of the hill and acquire those green skills. I got to do that now. In this moment, not push that 6 months down the road and then start doing that. Maybe it works differently for you. Here's what I think. In my life, I notice that I have some set of beliefs, and those beliefs are governing my actions. And what I want to do is improve my performance, and I want to take actions that move me up this hill. And I want those actions to be informed by actual evidence of performance. I want to measure that. The belief is sort of a condition of saying, well, okay, I guess I believe that. And what I've learned is I don't even need the beliefs. Well, why do I need a belief? Let me just start acting on the things that are going to pay off towards acquiring the skills that I want. And then as I start, maybe I don't have any of those skills, and as I start acting, I'm slowly adopting a new set of beliefs. Now I got a little bit of evidence. I'm starting to roll up that hill. And I'm getting more and more like green and less like black, until at some point I've moved to the point where I'm going up the hill and my old beliefs have been replaced by new beliefs because I have actual evidence that supports the belief. When I have enough evidence, I don't even need beliefs. I just need evidence. So here's what I've observed you in the last 4 weeks. I saw you go from incapable of trading to trading. Live skin in the game. 1 share at a time, crushing it on 1 minute chart on SPY. And you had 3 bad days in a row because of reasons. And now you've decided to stop live trading forward with 1 share and start paper trading. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying you're a grown man and do what you're going to do. But my observation is that you were beginning to acquire the skills and crushing it every day on 1 share live. That's evidence. If you think you need to paper trade for 6 months, paper trade for 6 months. That doesn't mean you can't stop. That doesn't mean you stop paper live trading 1 share. Do both of those and see what the difference is in your mindset. You want to talk about mindfulness? Notice how you feel and think and what you're doing when you're paper trading, and all the plan, prepare, execute, and assess behaviors. Are you different when you paper trade than when you live trade 1 share? That's what I want to know. Why is that different? What can you do to not make it different? That's more important to me than doing an exhaustive retrograde into reasons why you are who you are. Do that. Know yourself. But in terms of acquiring skills it's just trading. It's not who you are. It's one of the things that you do in that sense. I say, in my view, in my experience, in my stories, what I've learned is that my beliefs are kind of irrelevant. They don't even matter. It's what I do. And what I do makes evidence created by those actions that are rolling up that hill. And at some point, the evidence is more important than the beliefs. It's your actions that matter. I just am concerned that if you stop live trading with skin in the game right now, you're postponing the day of reckoning. Go embrace it. Paper trade if you want to, in order to acquire the skills that are in the course that Griff and Phil are teaching. That is sound and sensible and best practices. But don't stop trading 1 share live forward. You're not at any financial risk when you do that. If you stop, that's not true anymore. Now here's something else that I, just as your friend, that I might suggest. You're concerned. You're in a state of stress because you're waiting for a call to go to Europe when it's going to be a bad situation. So why are you waiting? Go to Europe now. Go see those people while they're alive. Get to closure with them and embrace life and say everything that needs to be said now while they're alive. That will eliminate all your stress. Then when the call comes for a ceremony to attend, you can go to that and be reverent and acknowledge, and you will have done all the prep work that you had to do and cleared the deck. Get right with them now. Now, I don't know if you got to go to Europe to do that. Maybe you can do it with a phone call or Zoom. Modern technology is wonderful, but some people, it needs to be in person. So go to Europe now. Don't wait for the call. Be the action. That's what I would ask you to think about. this is one of my concerns with postponing the day of reckoning. If there's fear about getting started and doing this, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of just finding out the truth, whatever it is, that doesn't get any better by going and doing other things and delaying. Just go there and get it done and start climbing that hill. When you get tired up here, then go do a little bit of work over there. Budget your time so that you spend some time in reflection and acknowledging past, present, and future. There's a need for all that. But there's also a time to do this work, and don't stop that momentum. Bodies in motion tend to stay in motion. That has been my experience in my life, and I'm right on the cusp of giving advice and recommendations. But I'm telling you, in my life, every time I've ever gone back through there, it's sort of been, all right, go back and remember why it's suffering. Yeah, that suffering, how I got to where I was and going through the depths, that gives me empathy for others. But none of that helped me acquire the skills to move up the hill. The only thing that helped me move up the hill was moving up the hill. Go now. That's my 2 cents on that. I'm in that work in progress all the time. Art's idea of time blocking is excellent. If you can sustain an hour's worth of work a day, schedule an hour on your prime time and get work done and journal it and say, I started here, I finished there, and I moved forward. You've created evidence. That's the outcome of accountable action, is creating an artifact of evidence that says that just happened. I did that work, and now I've got a piece of evidence over here that says, yeah, I did that thing, and I can build on that. You need to create artifacts of evidence that have greater power than beliefs. Now, beliefs have a lot of power, especially when there's no evidence. But I'll trade a mountain of beliefs for a molehill of evidence. One piece of evidence makes all the difference. So I would say, don't lose your action orientation. I mean, for me, in my life, waiting around and thinking about it, never. It's never worked for me. The only thing that ever worked is just go there and get it done. Say what needs to be said, do what needs to be done, and just go through it.
But you have a lot of good points, Ken. And
the coal won't shovel itself. I'm not saying don't paper trade for 6 months on that course. That's a great course, and what they're doing builds thorough evidence of getting things done. But you're already started on that path of skin in the game, live trading one share on one pattern. Don't lose that momentum, or I think you'll regret it. But that's just a belief and a prediction, and I'm basing it on my evidence. I mean, when I've had existential crisis in trading, I just started trading better. I said, well, I'm not going to do that dumb shit anymore. I'm going to just trade better. Go. I already knew what needed to be done, so I just did that. I needed the existential threat to get my shit together. But look you got 100,000 heartbeats in your life. How many are you going to spend on stuff that doesn't matter? what you spend it on is what actually matters to you. Why does that thing matter instead of doing your big five? All right, I'm going to hit the tones. I want you to listen for the word that comes to your mind. Luke,
Patience.
Dan,
All in.
Damien,
Growth.
Art,
Focused action.
apologies. In a true story circle, I'm not supposed to be giving advice and telling you about your stories and all that stuff. I'm supposed to be just telling my own stories and letting you pick that stuff up. That's, you know, and I crossed that line, and I'll take the consequences. Moving on. This will move us into the coffee talk.
But one thing that I was going to say, Ken, your comments are helping me refocus. I don't think you need to apologize. You did what you had to do as a true friend, and I want to thank you for that. And that's one of my biggest flaws is when I have a setback, I end up going back into my hole and try to feel sorry for myself by trying to figure out what went wrong and so on. And I appreciate what you just did, and I want to thank you for it.
I mean, I'm a creature that lives in a hole. That's my little badger face there. It's my hole. I'm trying to clean it up, and I'm gonna defend it and stuff. But well, we got to get on with things, you know. And we got to do what we say.
I've been where you are, Damien, often enough, and I think it's if you're trading one share, it's not the amount of money, it's the fear of losing, and I know I have that, and that's why it bothers me. What happened yesterday, and although I've made a lot of progress, it bothered me a lot less than the last time. So that's progress, and hopefully it'll be the same way, because it's going to happen. I mean, that's part of trading. it's going to happen. One thing, going down into the hole and exploring doesn't have to be a months-long project. I can recommend Libby Adams' personality type assessment for traders. She has you do the Myers-Briggs test and the Enneagram, and then she tells you your type and how the implications are for trading. And it won't take much time if you want to do that. It's not that expensive. I found it really good.
Can you?
The Marie Kondo method of tidying up. Do that with your clothes, then do that with your life. I went through and cleaned out my closet and my chest of drawers in an hour. You dump everything out, you touch it once. If it doesn't spark joy, you give it away to a better place where somebody can benefit from it. Done in one. And then fold everything properly so that you can see it and put it back in. And I did that 5 years ago, and I'm still good to go with that, with the clothes. Now, the only thing I haven't been able to do that with is my books, and I'm just acquiring them at a absurd pathological rate.
Same.
But workout kit, extra shoes, drums, boy, that's hard. But that's one of the things, with journaling and writing it down and confronting it, and then the release of it, is you got to get it out of the dark and into the light, and then just let it be what it is, and then you can walk away from it. You create the artifact. Okay, there it is. It's been acknowledged. Now I can just drop it and go. Surrender and go. Empty your bowl, and then nothing else has to be done until you decide to get up and go and do something towards your big five. So taking care of the business, that unfinished work, sure. For me, that was the raging ball of hate, exaggerating it and then putting it into deep space, and then filling up that inner ripping emptiness with cool water and good soil and growing plants. Get them started, and then leave them alone, because you can't make them grow faster. And then go into deep space and deprocess that stuff where it's safe. And turn that energy of hate into energy and bring that back. And that's what it's like, sunlight on those little plants. I'm turning all that nuclear waste of my hatred into nourishing sunlight for those plants back home. That little cycle, that visualization of that cycle, really helps me get over my self-loathing whenever I feel that. I just go through that process. Yeah.
Well, when I think back, when I was younger, until about 1997 or 98, when my first wife left me, I never had these issues until I went to see, at the advice of my pastor, a psychologist, who basically told me at that time that I had things that were buried so deep in my subconscious that I would not be able to move forward until I figure out what they were. And something is telling me that there's probably nothing there, because I saw and I talked to so many of those individuals, and I wasn't able to find anything. And the thing is you have one individual that plants a little seed that's corrupt, and then you're stuck on that seed. And you're right, Ken. I should take that seed and throw it away and say it doesn't exist. And if it's there, if it does exist, who cares? It's the past. It's buried. Why bring it up in the open? It's like if you have a pair of shoes that you don't wear and it's sitting in your closet for 20 years, might as well take it and get rid of it because you don't need it anymore. you know.
Well, there's a Nikan philosophy in Japan. Simply it's a 7-day sitting meditation, and you just write down, say, and like if you had that issue, you say, all right, if it's there, you got it. This is your chance. Come to my attention. Come back to the surface and tell me what it is. Let's deal with you now. And if you don't show up, you had your chance. I'm now going to release you back into the wild. You had your chance. Yep. I'm not going to allow it just to fester. If it's there, it'll announce and say, all right, what do I acknowledge it, accept it, act on it, release it, empty your bowl, put it on the shelf and say, that was then, this is now. And, and let's go. Another way. Hey, I believe this guy because he said that there's something to. Okay, well, there's a belief. So where's the evidence? Go get the evidence. It is or it isn't. Bring it into the court of law. Let's go.
Yeah.
Not guilty as charged, not proven, thrown out of court. Whatever it is, we got to move on. You can't get something new until you let go of that stuff. Your hands can only hold so much. So choose what goes in that circle. You got to release things in order to make room for other things. It takes climbing that hill. You got to lighten the load if you're going to add those skills. And then what you got to think about is the wedge. When you push that thing up the hill, that big circle I showed, when you've done that work, that artifact is a little wedge that you tap in to keep that thing from backsliding. And then when you've gone through the cycle of rest and recovery and you're ready, you got more energy, here we go. Push it, tap it in, lock it in. And you got to ratchet your way up that hill. A step at a time. It's one step. And you got to tap it in. So that was then. That's evidence. Every step you go up is a piece of evidence that replaces a belief. It was one more thing that you added, one less thing that you could drop off. One thing that you dropped off, that kind of stuff. And I'm getting preachy, but there you are. All right, I got us at 8:17. I'm gonna check out and turn this thing off so we can get it processed. We'll get the nightly happening here in a few minutes. We'll get this recorded and posted. Appreciate the heavy lifting. Appreciate the understanding. We made some sawdust, and we were cutting wood, taking names tonight. The coal won't shovel itself.
And I want to thank the whole group for listening, and we're all here to help each other and learn from each other. So what I have to say can help other individuals also. I hope you guys have a happy evening, and we'll see you on the call later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers, fellas.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Yep. Take care.